There is a kind of courage that looks bright from the outside and empty from the inside. It is the courage of posting before you are ready, talking louder when you feel insecure, or trying to become unforgettable because you are afraid of disappearing. A lot of people approach the Lion's Gate portal that way. They hear words like visibility, abundance, radiance, and destiny, and they immediately feel pressure to become bigger. But what if this moment is not really asking you to become bigger? What if it is asking you to become less divided? That is the frame for this episode. August 8th can be used as a day for intention, but the deeper work is not performance. It is alignment. It is the difficult kind of courage that lets your outer life catch up to what you already know inwardly. The Lion's Gate portal is a modern spiritual observance centered on August 8th. Different traditions describe it differently, but most versions link it to Leo symbolism, solar power, heart expression, and a sense of amplified creative energy. You do not have to treat it as an objective cosmic command for it to be useful. Think of it as a symbolic checkpoint in the year. It falls in a season that naturally carries themes of visibility, identity, vitality, and self-expression. That makes it a good ritual moment for asking a difficult question. Where in my life am I hiding? And where am I overcompensating? That distinction matters. Hiding and overcompensating often come from the same wound. One person goes quiet and calls it humility. Another becomes hypervisible and calls it confidence. But both may be reacting to the same fear. If I am seen clearly, will I still be wanted? The spiritual opportunity of Lion's Gate is not self-inflation. It is coherent expression. It is letting what you value become more visible in your speech, your commitments, and your choices. Psychologically, this kind of portal work is about the tension between authenticity and image management. Many of us were trained very early to perform a self that earned safety. Maybe you learned to be the reliable one, the pleasing one, the talented one, the funny one, the spiritually evolved one. Those roles often helped you survive, but after a while they can become expensive. You start protecting the role even when it no longer matches your real condition. That is where August 8 becomes useful. It can function as an annual audit of self-presentation. Ask yourself, where am I asking to be admired instead of understood? Where am I still shrinking because I expect punishment? What form of expression would feel alive if I stopped organizing everything around reaction? Real confidence is quieter than people expect. It does not need constant witness. It does not panic when someone does not understand it immediately. It can tolerate being seen incompletely because it is not built entirely out of applause. So if you are working with Lion's Gate energy this year, do not ask only, how can I shine? Ask, what part of me is ready to stop splitting into public performance and private truth? That question changes everything. A useful historical parallel comes from the early civil rights movement in the United States. When Martin Luther King Jr. spoke publicly about dignity, courage, and nonviolent resistance, he was not talking about charisma for its own sake. He was talking about disciplined visibility. That distinction is worth holding on to. The point was not to be seen merely to be seen. The point was to make moral reality harder to ignore. Nonviolent protest required a very specific kind of inner alignment. People had to train themselves not to answer humiliation with chaotic retaliation. They had to become visible without becoming theatrically reactive. That is not the same thing as passivity. It is harder than passivity. It is self-command under pressure. Why does that matter here? Because spiritual language about radiance and courage can get shallow very fast. It can turn into branding. King's example reminds us that visible presence becomes powerful when it is tied to purpose, discipline, and willingness to bear discomfort without losing the center. That is a much stronger model of Lion's Gate courage than be louder. Try this 15-minute Lion's Gate practice. First, write 2 lists. List 1, where I still hide. List 2, where I overperform. Be specific. Hide from whom? Overperform in what setting? In work, relationships, online life, creative life, family? Second, underline one item from each list that feels most alive right now. Third, write 1 sentence of aligned action. This month, I will let myself be seen by. This month, I will stop performing. This month, I will tell the truth about. Fourth, say the sentence out loud. If possible, stand while you say it. Let the body register the commitment. Finally, do 1 visible act within 48 hours. Send the email, share the draft, set the boundary, make the appointment, have the conversation. The ritual is not complete until behavior changes. Lion's Gate is most useful when it turns symbolic energy into honest action. You do not need to become larger than life. You need less internal contradiction. The real portal opens when what you value becomes harder for you to betray. Take these questions into August 8. Where does my life need more courage and less image management? What kind of visibility would actually feel clean? What truth is ready to move from intention into action? Carry this scent into the week. Let your expression become more truthful, not just more noticeable.